I've listened to the podcast and I enjoy listening to y'all and go back and forth. And I didn't know that I didn't know y'all were family. I didn't know y'all were cousins. I didn't know y'all was a thing. I didn't know y'all was a thing. Like, that's like, oh yeah, Rick and Reese, man. That's the thing, man. Y'all had a radio show, right?
Yeah. We still do. On Monday, come on Monday nights. Okay. A little shameless plug. Welcome to another episode, man, of the Rick and Reese podcast. You already know, man, it's your boy Reese. I'm sitting next to the greatest co-host on the planet, Rick Jones.
Oh, Reese, man, you're far too kind. Man, listen, we recognize you can be tuned in or tapped in to any podcast in the world, but you're rocking with your boys, Rick and Reese, and you already know.
We appreciate that.
Let me ask y'all this: what's scary about doing this?
Preparation.
He said the preparation.
Me, you know what I mean? Because you got to continuously come up with content week after week after week after week after week. You got to really dig, do research, and make sure that you're prepared. It's pressure, especially when you got a lot of other stuff going on. Your husband, your father, you know what I mean? Your pastor. So it gets challenging at times.
You would ask me about the expectation that I had coming out of Mansfield, going and playing football. Because once you announce that you're doing this, doesn't that change the expectation? Now you're
completely.
Like, oh shoot,
right?
Now we got to do it. We got to do
this. And you can't just do it twice and then be like, we did 2 episodes. It was cool. It's like, nah, you got to keep producing and producing and producing. Right. So it comes with its challenges, bro, for sure.
One other thing too, when you're in radio and things like this and media and these mics are open, man, and the world we live in today, you say the wrong thing.
Oh man.
It can be crazy, man. When they say the cancel culture or
whatever,
you know what I mean? So that's
critical.
a scary thing. So you got to be mindful that these mics is on your own media. People may see it. So, sometimes you don't want to be offensive. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful.
I'm just politically correct. I love everybody.
And then sometimes, sometimes, man, your show will blow up because you are so, confrontational and saying things you shouldn't have said. So,
Yeah, and don't be focusing in on my tears and stuff that I was crying.
Oh,
don't y'all do that, man. Don't do that
when
to
you
me
did
now.
That, I said this. He just took our show to another level.
A whole nother level.
Zoom on in on his tears.
It was the authenticity.
I'm gonna tell you what I wanted to do, man. I wanted to rob him a little more, so the tears could fall. You all right, bro? All right, man.
Hey, listen, I got some dudes that was like, I could have told y'all he probably wasn't gonna make it through this without crying, man. And you know what I'm saying?
You just showed the world, man, that the Rick and Reese podcast is a safe space.
Man, listen, I'm gonna tell you right now. That's the measurement right there. I said, our show's there.
It's a safe space.
You know what? Here's the thing too, man. We were talking about the diversity, equity, inclusion. I grew up in a house with diversity and inclusion. Interestingly enough, man, I've never really shared this on any public
exclusive.
Have you. Yeah, exclusive. But when I was 18 years old, my father told me he was gay. Right? My mom and dad went through divorce and all that kind of stuff. He was living in a different state. We were in Mansfield, Ohio. So if you can imagine, here I am, all this machismo, right? I'm a linebacker or, headed to Ohio State, all that kind of stuff. Father comes out and tells me that he's gay, right? During a time, in the 90s where it really wasn't,
unacceptable, really.
Magic with getting, he got AIDS, and they're kind of wondering what's going on? I think, I think in 91, 92, I think Magic kind of went through that or whatever, but it was really, really, really a stigma, right? And so my father, he really, it was interesting because you can say he kind of struggled with his sexuality, but he more, people struggled with it. You know what I'm saying? And more than he did. And it's interesting because I believe we were raised in a household that was very accepting. We were raised in a household that police officers came over to the house. I saw Black police officers in our home, full uniforms, coming in, grabbing a glass of lemonade, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever, coming in. So I had cousins, family members who were in the police force. So I view, some people like, oh man, you're so, the police and how police brutality and this, that, and the third. And I get that and I understand that and I see that. But my perspective on policing is different because I grew up with policing. You know what I'm saying? I grew up on the other side and I've seen Black officers, I've seen white officers, I've seen good black officers and bad black officers, and I've seen good white officers and bad white officers, right? I think I've grown up with such a perspective and understanding, then again, I told you that my father was a pastor. So can you imagine the conflict that he was going through as a gay pastor, right? Trying to, navigate and maneuver. So I was exposed to so much that I think this space of Obie's Breakfast Club, diversity, equity, inclusion, all that stuff is like, it's just crescendoed into my life now that I'm older. I can make some of my, own decisions. But I look back and when I talk to my daddy, he's 75 years old. And we talk about everything under the sun. Literally, we talk about everything. And he's, I'll say he's gay. And he said, son, I didn't tell you I was gay. I told you I was bisexual. And then we'll laugh and argue about that. I'm like, whatever, Dad. Isn't it the same thing? No, it's not the same thing, son. You know what I'm saying? And we laugh and stuff. But we probably have more conversations because of our relationship and the maturity of our relationship than society is able to have. And because society, racism, sexism, all that, those things are the Achilles heel of America. And we've never really matured to really be able to have, like you said, safe space conversations. And him and I are, we've grown, we've argued, we've fought, we've disagreed, we've not talked to each other and this, that, and the third, not over his lifestyle, just over life. Right. But understanding, why he got a divorce from my mom, but did you want to have kids? I got, 2 other brothers and sisters, you know what I'm saying? So what was the conflict that was going on with you? And so we talk about those things. Yeah, we chat about those things. And he's extremely intelligent, bright human being with a lot of perspective. And I think it's created a level of, some people would say tolerance. And I think tolerance is such an arrogant term to say we tolerate each other. You tolerate homosexuality or we tolerate various things. But it's given me a compassion. I've been more compassionate about people and how they move and how they interact within this society, this world. So yeah, that's sometimes when I say that it's like, your dad was gay. Yeah. Like, yeah, bro. Yeah. What does that, how did that make you feel? You know what I'm saying? And it was embarrassing at first. There's no doubt. I was embarrassed. I didn't want no one to know that. And then as I grew up and became more mature, and it's not that I have, I'm not necessarily saying that I don't endorse it or do endorse it, but I endorse his humanity, and in that I love, and love is an action word, love is movement, right? So you got to do something with love, man. And so those things, so I actively love him, regardless of who he is or who he says he loves. He's always dad. Yeah. And
you said something, man. I just want to hear your perspective as opposed to other people's perspective that you might have been around. You said you've seen the police in uniform come in your house, drink lemonade. You've seen them in a different light. And I know you probably have friends that view maybe the police different than what you viewed them. Just real quick, can you touch on that, and then in that, I think it's important because maybe your perspective, maybe just things that you've seen, we need to have programs where the police can go to schools and have some lemonades with certain students and you know what I mean? So they can see them in a different light. And it probably already exists, but I just want to see, what did that do to you and opposed to maybe your friends that you've seen?
You know what? I think it has more of an impact now than I realized that it was having then, because because of the conflict that is more prominent now when it comes to police brutality has been something that the Black community has talked about for a long time, right? And I'm not ignorant of the fact that that policing came from the slave patrol. And slave patrol, that's some of the aspects that I think some of our white brothers and sisters don't understand is that this distrust in policing was created extremely organically through the inability for Black people to run towards the police. Because when you were even up north, if you ran to the police, which was the slave patrol, they would take you back to down south to your master. So it was very much publicized. And I saw old little clipping where it had, hey, don't go to these individuals because they will take you back into slavery. So there was a distrust that was created way back then, right? And so, but as we evolved, there has been obviously brutality and some things that have gone on. I guess, I don't know. I think I do my hard. I work so hard to try to judge each individual situation as that individual situation and not paint with a broad brush.
Right.
And because, if I go outside and someone has broken into my car, guess who I'm calling? The police.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going to say, hey, listen, I need to make a report. You know what I'm saying? Or someone's coming at me and they have a gun. You know what I'm saying? I guess what I'm calling. I ain't calling Pastor Rick.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Reese, I ain't calling you. I'm calling the police. I'm calling 911. And I expect someone to come. Right. And guess what? I don't care if they're Black or white.
Right.
I don't care. Right. And so I'm not ignorant of there's some systemic things that are going on that have to be corrected. But there is a bigger conversation that we have to and we have to create. We have to really, really be intentional about creating safe spaces to have these conversations. And I think it's important that policing actually comes into the community, Black community, and learn some things there. But I think it's very important for the Black community to go into the policing and law enforcement and really kind of understand some of those things. I did have someone approach me and asked about having something like that at Obie's Breakfast Club. So we might have something where we have law enforcement and community and have a conversation. But I know those have happened, but there's, I don't know, I think we might be able to do it a little differently to really have some measurable goals and have some intentional outcomes.
Like you said, I think on one end, we always argue that they need to come into the community to really get a feel for, the culture now as it stands, because you probably don't live in the culture you policing.
Right.
But it's just as important for, the people living in that community to understand the laws and the policing and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why they do what they do or what to expect.
Right.
If they do this and, you know what I mean? That
Right.
breakdown right there to me is what causes issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, me personally, I love people that, that are 360-degree thinkers. And that's who you are. You're able to see it from a variety of different ways, different perspectives, man. So I love to pick your brain at times, man, because, you are that, and you've been through a diverse, experiences and all that. So, man, I love talking to you, man. I love interviewing you.
No,
I love
appreciate
hearing
it.
your perspective. I don't agree with everything you always say, but you're my guy, man. I appreciate you for coming on the Rick and Reese show, man.
No, I
100%.
appreciate it.
Man, I love you, man. You my brother.
100%.
Yeah,
I
appreciate
spared
you,
him, man. I ain't go stat for stat. I ain't do none of that.
No, because
I spared you.
I do want to say this because I had something, but it went a different direction. But I was just going to ask him too about, have you ever seen somebody play football in the MAC because you played at Ohio State, but you thought, man, they pretty much could have played at Ohio State. You know what I mean? And then people that's at Ohio State, you seen some talent like, well, you really shouldn't be here at Ohio State. You could be there. I was just wondering that. I wanted to ask you, how much did you weigh coming out of this? My motives was I just wanted to size myself up again.
Hey, listen, definitely cats that was in the MAC. I seen that could have played at Ohio State.
Come on,
okay.
So I could have played, man.
Yeah.
That's all, man. I got some self. He had motives. I had motives to bring it on too.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely. He had motives,
definitely.
man. So,
I can see it. I can see it. Shoot.
How tall were you in high school, and how much did you weigh? No, I just want to ask. How much did you weigh?
In high school, I was 6'1", 185.
Wow, I was 6'1", 185. I was 6 foot, 185.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now could have the difference that could have been, I don't know, because I didn't really know you back then.
Yeah.
I had that dog in me.
Okay. I had that line.
I
had that
had
line
that
in me,
dog.
too.
I was meant from Mansfield, man. We got that dog, man. You know what I'm saying?
You was from Mansfield. I was from the trenches, man. Come on, talk to me.
Right.
Talk
You
to
know,
me, man.
but you know what, man? I played with some dogs, though.
Okay.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? I played with some dogs, man. Chico Nelson, Tito Paul, you know, Eddie George, Corey Stringer, you know, Orlando Pace.
Yeah, it's a different type of
you know what I'm
vibe
saying?
right
These
there.
Nicky Sualua, Sean Springs, you know what I'm saying? Like these dudes they was cut
Elite.
a little different, man.
Yeah,
They
that was
were.
elite. That stuff
Yeah.
that was coming up out of Ohio State. And
Yeah.
that 92 to 96
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
That was unreal. Like you said, Pace. He was the number one pick of the draft.
Right.
Springs was like number 3.
Yeah. Big Daddy.
Same draft.
Big Daddy ran a 4.7 for the scouts at 6'4", 315 pounds.
Wow.
Ran a 4.7.
Eddie George won the Heisman. Like,
Right.
but these is individuals he going to practice with on
Yeah.
a daily.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
great.
Terry Glenn. Like Terry Glenn, come on, man. TG was crazy, man.
Crazy
His
talent.
speed was like Joey Galloway. Like Joey Galloway's that's bananas, man. You and yeah, those are the type of guys that you're in the locker room when you play. So everything elevates, man. Everything, the expectations. Sometimes, man, it's not even. Sometimes I be telling younger people, change the environment. Not necessarily changing the environment of people that are doing something.
Yeah.
Because you want them to do something, but at least change the environment of people that are expecting something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Are you surrounded around people who expect something different?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And out of expectations, you know, births that the necessary knowledge to make that action, to take the action, to take the step. Right. But it starts with expectation.
Right.
You know, what are your expectations, man?
Wow.
You know, and that hope is like a huge word, man. Like, do you still have hope? You know, faith. What faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. By it, the elders received a good report. By faith, but faith is the substance of things hoped for, right? So how important is hope if faith says, I got to connect to hope?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To be that whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? You desire to be, man, hope. And some people, man, you're looking at a hopeless, sometimes you feel like you're looking at a hopeless generation. Like, man, do you hope anymore?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So those expectations and so back to Ohio State though, I believe that you just walk in with a certain level of expectation, man, like a certain level of we about to get this done. You know what I'm saying? And each individual must play their part. Right. And it's just like in a marriage, like people say, oh, marriage is 50-50. Yeah, but everybody must give 100% of their 50. You know what I'm saying? To add so that it is a true 50-50. Right. You know, but you can't give you give 50% of your 50.
Right.
No, give 100% of your 50. Then it's 50-50.
Right. That's good. That's stout on me then with those names.
No, it was a lot of talent, boy. That era, though, it was ridiculous.
Too, you know, like Andy Castlemeyer, you know what I mean? Just a lot of greats I played with.
Hold on. We ain't
receiver?
even fun. I mean, Andy's another one that came through there.
Yeah.
It was so much that came through there.
Marshall.
Randy Moss.
Randy Moss.
Yeah.
Against Randy Moss.
Yeah. Randy's brother played at Ohio State.
Oh, did he? I never knew that.
Yep. Randy had a brother, Eric Moss.
Oh, really?
Yep, Eric Moss. Matter of fact, Eric Moss, we're sitting in the dorm room. It was me, Eric Moss, 2 other guys. He's thumbing through a magazine. He's like, man, I got a brother, man, that it's going to be really good. And I was like, oh, really? We was like, oh, okay, you know, but no, seriously, he's going to be really good. He's going to be good and stuff. And I think he would end up going to like Florida State or something like that at first. And then, so it ended up being Randy Moss, man. Wow. I was like, what?
Wow.
He said, but Eric Moss was a beast. He played fullback. He played guard. He played tight end. He was like 6'4".
Oh, wow.
305, 6'4", 305. Played in the league for a little bit at Minnesota for a hot second, but he passed away. Passed away, but yeah, man, he was good, silly, big dude, man, good dude. So yeah, Randy Moss's older brother played at Ohio State.
No, Fickle and Vrabel and them, they wasn't there yet, was they?
Yep. I played with
So you played
Fickle.
with them too?
Yeah, Braves and
was so
stuff.
much-
Yeah.
He was my coach.
There was so
Oh,
much
really?
talent.
Okay. Yeah.
Down in Akron.
Yeah, down in Akron. Yep.
He killing it at
wasn't the head
Cincinnati
coach.
right now. He doing his thing.
No, he's Wisconsin.
I know he did leave.
Yes, he's at
He
Wisconsin
did take
now.
the job.
Yep.
He was
Yeah.
head coach.
Yeah,
He's the head coach of Wisconsin.
yeah,
Yeah.
He did take that
Yeah,
job.
come on, fellas. Get out the mustard and
Yeah.
catch up. Fellas. What's going on, man? You don't know that, man. Come on, man. You ain't know that.
Man.
Yeah, he's the head coach of Wisconsin,
he
man.
did take that job.
Doing his thing. Yeah, he's doing his thing. And Gillum's down there with him.
Yep.
Yeah.
You told me. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he went to Wisconsin with him.
So how long was Fickle?
He just took the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
This is
took
first
the
season.
bowl. He was there for the bowl game.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's about to be his first
He
full
was there,
season.
he's there for the bowl game.
All right, quick, before we wrap up, man, what you think about Deion Sanders and what Deion Sanders is doing? Obviously, he was at the Jackson State. Now he's at UC.
Yeah.
What you think about that?
Man, I love it, man. I love that he did what he did at Jackson State and then moved on. I mean, everything is to me it should evolve, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you start where you are and then you should evolve, but you only evolve if you kind of check the boxes, and you've gone through the test and you qualify, right, for that next level. And Buffalo Colorado would not have brought him on if they didn't feel like he qualified, right? I know some people feel, oh man, you left Jackson State and blah, blah, blah. I don't think he ever promised to be there forever. Just like Eddie's down at TSU, Tennessee State University. Guess what? I don't think if he's there another 3 years, I'd be surprised because he's talented, he's passionate, he knows the game, he's extremely knowledgeable, he's very relatable to the youth. Guess what? Somebody's going to say, hey, listen,
Right.
why don't we pay you X amount of dollars and you come run this program, right? And delegate, right? Bring on your relationships. Talk about Obie's Breakfast Club, building relationships, creating relationships. That's what head coaching is all about. Deion brought in some very top people. He brought in, matter of fact, the head coach, I believe, from Toledo, from the MAC, right? Wow. He's now, I think he's the offensive coordinator for Deion at Colorado. So, man, I love it that he's evolving HBCUs. I mean, I've been there, seen it. Done it, man. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of work to be done from the school, from sports, but also from the academic side, the administrative side. Even there's money sometimes that are allocated to TSU, I'll just say HBCUs, and they'll be allocated like, man, they get millions and millions of dollars, right? But then they'll put certain restraints on how they can actually spend it. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so there's just things that I think there's some restraints that have to be lifted for the HBCUs to really thrive. But man, I'm glad Deion is doing what he's doing, man. And I think for sure, Deion, I mean, he cares, right? He cares about those kids. And really, he's not doing much different than what Urban Meyer did when he came to Ohio State. Yeah. Urban Meyer was telling kids left and right, you might as well leave. Yeah. You might as well go. You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes when, Urban Meyer says something like that, people are like, oh man, that's great. You know what I'm saying? He loves Urban. And said Deion does it. You're like, he's so arrogant. It's like, no, bro, it's the same mentality. Yeah. That cause and the other coaches in the Big Ten didn't like what Urban was doing either, because Urban was like, hey, listen, this kid has committed to, it's like, hey, I don't care. I'm recruiting. He has until he's there. Until he's there, he's done. He's there. I'm a recruit, and I'll probably recruit when he wants to get there if I really want him, right? And then Urban didn't like it if you went and took a visit after you came to Ohio State, and then you went and took a visit at Michigan, or you went and took a visit and we offered you, and then now you go and visit them, and guess what? No, we don't want you. And so it was just a different mentality, but it just looks different coming from Deion. But Herb was like that. Herb ain't play, man. And then guess what though? He got us to that Nash. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He got us. He never lost to Michigan, right? He got us to that Nash, and now shoot. Ryan Day, they looking at Ryan Day like, I don't know, you gonna be around, right? But you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta give him time. Yeah. You gotta give him time. And there's a cultural change that went on when Ryan Day took over. Because remember, winning comes at an expense, right? Winning comes at an expense, and certain coaches have different styles. And so there was a cultural change that occurred with Ryan Day. And he'll be fine. He'll be fine, you know what I mean? But you have to be patient with some of that. But he came in, Ryan Day's a huge mental health guy. His dad committed suicide when he was I don't know how old he was, but it's that. So he's very acute on mental health. He's very huge advocate for mental health. So he's making sure that those guys are healthy and they have what they need to not only be successful on the field, but off the field. So, So I know we probably went over, but we just always chopping it up.
Ready, man. They ready.
Well, hey, thanks again, fellas.
Yeah, we appreciate it, man. 100%. Man, thank y'all for tuning in, man, to another episode of the Rick and Reese podcast, man. Definitely salute to Obie Stillwell, man. Unbelievable guest. I knew he was going to have a lot of great content.
Yes, sir.
Make sure y'all follow the Rick and Reese podcast on all major streaming platforms. And you can hear everything that we was talking about with Obie, man. I got on Rick a little bit, and you know what I mean? You're going to love it, so make sure that you tune into that. And man, also, man, Obie, you can let them know about, the Breakfast Club, where they can find you.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
Yeah, go to obiesbreakfastclub.com, Obies with an S, OBIES, breakfastclub.com. Jump online and you'll be able to see when the next one's coming up.
Okay. That's it. So make sure y'all tap in. It's the Rick and Reese podcast. Lego.